libertarian is?
I hear that all the time. Let me tell you what a libertarian is. Libertarian is someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force others to be like you.
Got it.
That's what we are all about. We are all about long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. We're all about changing culture, not just changing law. Law, we have to remember something. At the end of almost every single law is a guy or a gal with a gun who will put you in a cage. And if you don't want to go in that cage, he or she is going to kill you. That means you only use law when it really matters, not just because I'm angry, not because I don't like you, not because you should do some activity I think you shouldn't do, or whatever the case may be. It's only for important things like life and liberty and property and things like that. That's when you use violence. That's when you use force. That's what libertarians all about. Hey everyone, it is Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. Yes, I am here live. And guys, thank you so much for actually showing up yet again. I keep bringing you on, I know, because it matters, right? It is important that I know this is a presidential year. I get it. And Jo Jorgensen, I hope she wins. We got to support her. And on top of that, there are tons, and I mean hundreds, of libertarians running throughout this country trying to make local impact. We got to care about them too. And if you care about that, you want us to make that happen. And also get around that media blockade, get around that media blackout. You got to like, comment, and share. Let people know this is happening. Tell your friends, get those algorithms moving. So click that like button and that share button and comment. It does matter. It's very important. This is Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live, and I'm very happy that I have today with me a guy who's trying to make impact in his world in the glorious state of Illinois, the man himself, Joshua Flynn. Joshua, how are you?
Doing great, Larry.
I am very happy that I know you're out there working, having meetings, trying to make things happen, and you took some time out of your day to sit here and chat with me for a few minutes. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, most definitely.
So I got to ask, there's a lot of ways that we can make impact in our community. Tons of ways we can do it. You chose running for state senate in Illinois. Why?
Basically, I've been involved with the community.
State house, right? State house.
State house, yes.
Sorry, state house in Illinois.
I've been involved with community all my life. Work with non-for-profits. I work with my father's church. So I've been constantly organizing ever since I was a small child. So it's always been in me to be within the leadership, working with them, trying to better our communities and other communities around the state of Illinois. That's my biggest goal. That's my goal. I'm going to try to do is try to change the communities the way they are right now. Yes.
I love that idea. I say it all the time. As you add government, you start removing community.
Yes.
Right? It's how it works. And one of the examples I saw in New York, and you probably see it in Illinois too, is when government began to regulate things like childcare, the churches lost it. They got regulated out. I mean, people used to drop their kids off at church before they go off to work, or when they have problems, or Sunday school, and they go have a date with their spouse, and they can put the kids in Sunday school and have some time alone, a picnic or something. Those days are going away, and a lot of it's because as you add that government, that community starts to fall apart.
Yes.
And it's funny how I keep hearing that people really are trying to make that community really work. Can I ask you, Joshua, what district are you in?
District 78.
District 78. There we go. So look, I know that you could probably spend the next 3 hours talking about issues, but let's not punish everybody. Let's just grab like the top 3. What are your issues that really in your community that you're really focused on?
Lower taxes, economic development, and safer streets. It's around those 3 topics because I believe that with lower taxes, you can help communities build. Right now, we're losing a lot of population in Illinois because of it. The property taxes are so high. We're losing a lot of small businesses because they can afford the business tax here. Bringing new economic development that will strengthen our communities, especially the smaller communities throughout the state of Illinois, as well as making the streets safer. I believe that a working community makes for a safer community. Keeping in school makes for safer streets. That's why that's my topics: lower taxes, economic development, and safer streets.
I love how they flow together. Absolutely. And you see it, right? When you have more economic development, you wind up having more ownership in any community, right? People own the businesses, people own the buildings, people own the property. people feel like they own their careers. People are more engaged in the school system, all those things. And who's going to take care of a community better? Owners or renters? Almost always owners.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They are the stakeholders of the community. So yes.
Exactly. Yes. And we want to make more stakeholders. It's something that I really think is a critical piece when it comes to any kind of development is having ownership. But you brought up lower taxes. Did you only mean property taxes, or what, or the different types that you want to focus on?
Across the board, lower state income taxes, lower sales taxes. Illinois has, here in Cook County, has some of the highest sales tax in the country. We have the highest taxes across, the second highest property tax in the country right now.
Wow.
In Illinois, so behind New Jersey. So helping people lower those, if we lower those taxes, like we would bring more people into the state, and we won't be losing so many people on the way out to Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, like we are now.
I'm feeling the same pain here in New York. I'm feeling the same pain. Exactly. But look, obviously you're going to get the problem, right? The second you say, I'm going to lower property taxes, the first thing someone's going to tell you is, where are you going to get that money from, Joshua? Come on now. It's the first thing they're going to say, right? So
right.
What's your answer for that obvious, comeback?
The first starts with the police department. Here in Chicago, especially, we have a lot of over-policing. Spending so much time on things that it can be, instead of going against the property crimes and violent crimes, they spend so much time on everything else. So that takes a lot of money, more time for the officers. If we cut back there, you start seeing money trending down to other programs and other things across the state of Illinois, which will help out those other programs. As of right now, that overspending is where we started right there in the policing department. Also, we have too much government. Here in Illinois, we have over 1,400 different townships, but we only have 1,299 cities in the state of Illinois.
Wow.
That has to change. Less government will also help.
So how do you in New York State, they were trying to mandate, these governments to I guess come together, or kind of mandate that coalition. What is your plan to redraw the districts? Is your plan to do some kind of plebiscite where people vote? What's your plan to kind of get rid of some of those jurisdictions?
Basically, it's the cutback. We have the cutback of those districts, of different townships. We have to vote. People have to vote on it. It's in the people's hands. I'm not the person to be, because like I said, I want less government. If government is involved with forcing it, no, that's not what I'm for. The people have to decide on that. So it'd be like more of a referendum on their ballots.
I see.
Throughout the 102 counties in Illinois.
Well, I know we have the same issue in New York sometimes, where you have a city, a town, and a county. Each one has their own police force, and they overlap. Each one has their own fire department, and they overlap. Each one has their own everything, and they overlap. And if they're all going to overlap, maybe you could have just one. Maybe you don't need 3 police chiefs. You can just have one. I'm with you. I love the idea. Do you think most people in your district, and I'll ask your district and also then the state, do most people in your district agree with that idea? Or is this something you're kind of fighting them on?
In my district, it'd be more, I wouldn't say fighting, but more discussions.
Okay.
Everything south of I-80, they're more in agreement with that.
I see.
North of I-80, they're more, it's a discussion. It's like a tutoring session, which is great because now you can bring the subject up. Because right now, nobody else has brought it up until now. So, yeah, it's just a discussion, education session. That's pretty much what it is.
Got it. Now, property tax. Now, you brought this one up, right? Yes. Property tax basically affects rents, right? Because the renters are paying their property tax through their rent.
Yes.
If you start lowering property tax and the sales taxes, do local businesses suffer? Or no? What's the answer for that?
Well, in the transition of lowering the property taxes, the goal is to bring in new businesses, because the businesses is help bring down the property taxes in our community. The reason why the gas station here in like River Forest, that's outside my district, but right here close to my home, they pay a lot higher property tax, so the gas price is a lot higher. So bringing more businesses that will help lower those taxes there, so the gas station won't charge as much for gas. Right. We have, comparison to a lot of other places, we pay a lot of money for gas here. We got an increase coming July 1st, 0.7 is going up again for our yearly gas tax. So we're getting prepared for that. So.
No, I love what you're saying, right? Usually, again, if you remove government and you want service, you got to add community. If you remove government and you want money, you got to add commerce. Yes. So you're saying remove When it comes to the safer streets idea, it's remove government, add community. When it comes to the taxes, it's remove government, add commerce.
Yes, that's
I
correct.
love that. I love that. So now you're talking about economic development. Economic development obviously is tied, right, to
Right.
lowering taxes. Is there
Yes.
anything else on top of that that you want to add when it comes to economic development?
More education.
Mhm.
We have a lot of innovators in these high schools. These kids coming out senior year, a lot of them don't want to go to college. A lot of them want to
Mm.
start a small business. So the growth. That's when I talk about education. The growth has to start in the education system, where they're understanding how business works.
Mm.
That's another growth, growth and development of economic development in our communities, especially in the Black communities across the state of Illinois. There's some towns here that black ran towns pretty much, especially in Southern Illinois. St. Clair County is one of the towns I'm talking about down there, where they need this. This is not, it's a necessity, and it has to happen now rather than later. So that's my goal, is to get that growth and development amongst economic development, starting with the high school kids, because that's where it starts at,
Oh yeah.
and it
They're
trickles down.
young, they're hungry, they
Oh
think
yeah,
they can do anything, right? They're not afraid of
yes,
anything. They're gonna change the world. I love that, right? Sure.
and they're willing to take the risk. Unlike a lot of
Yes.
adults, in their 40s and older, they don't want to take too much of a risk anymore. So they change their investment plans after a certain age.
Right, yeah. But when you're 17, 18,
You're
let's
aggressive.
go out there and change the world. I love it. Yeah. So what I found in New York, and I'm assuming there's some similarities, is that I talked often about the idea of ending, professional licensing.
Okay.
That it really slows down people becoming entrepreneurs. Right. Where I grew up in the South Bronx as a kid in New York City. And what I found that most people who got out of the bad neighborhood, it was because of entrepreneurship. Right?
Yeah.
They owned a business, or they started a hair salon, or they drove a gypsy cab, or they did something that got them making their own money, having their own ownership. I remember
Yes.
that most of the businesses in my neighborhood, and my neighborhood when I was a kid, I grew up in the 70s,
Okay.
and in the 50s, that neighborhood was actually Jewish. 40s and 50s was Jewish. Most of the Jews had moved out by the time I grew up in it. There were still some older Jews who actually helped me, taught me how to play chess in the park when I was a kid. But most of the neighborhood was black or Puerto Rican. That was most of my neighborhood. But a lot of the businesses, they weren't franchised. They weren't big box. They were
Okay.
owned by the people who lived in the neighborhood, right? The fish market was owned by the guy who lived a couple blocks down, right? And it was a fish market back then. Now you can't find one of those. But the pizza shop wasn't. Right now, the pizza shop that when I was a kid is the Subway.
Oh wow.
So like everything has changed over. The ownership has gone away. That entrepreneurship has been lost. And I think you're totally right. The way that you get people to get out of a bad situation is ownership. It's entrepreneurship. And I think you're totally right. You do it as a youth, and you don't push some kid into college who doesn't want to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Why do that? If you don't want to go to college, don't go. You want to start a business? Go ahead. I know lots of people who start business. I love that idea. But how do you, and this is the hard part that I could see, how can you get a high school that is often judged based upon its placement into college? It's given money by the federal government often, and sometimes by state governments, based upon its ability to get kids into college.
Right.
Then how do you get those guidance counselors and those administrators to go, don't go to college? How do we do that?
Well, entrepreneurship was introduced to me in 7th grade, actually. We had a Miss Conley. I never forget her because I seen her a couple years ago. She had a program, an entrepreneurship program. She taught started in 7th grade at a public school here in Chicago. It's introduced early. The kid is already on their mind at that time. You're talking about 12-year-olds, talking about entrepreneurship.
Yep.
First of all, most adults can't even pronounce the word itself. So
yes.
By having kids in 7th, 8th grade understanding what it is, by the time they get to their senior year of high school, pretty much you know what you want to do by that time. You're going to have some that wants to go to college. You're going to have some that wants to go into their own businesses. You have some that maybe they just want to work for people. That's what they're going to be. That's what they want to do.
Their job, sure.
Their choice. That's what I love about the libertarian parts. Their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you, like I say, starting early, you start already, and then you institute it into the schooling system. That's the thing. It's not in every school. It was just in my school, my grammar school here in Chicago, and allow them that option. giving them that option. Right now they don't have that option. Don't know
That's
about
amazing that it's so early. I mean, I
Yes.
love it. I love it, but I've never heard of it. Usually when you think of entrepreneur programs, the kids are 16, 17 by the
Yes.
time they get that. You're talking middle school. You're talking 12, 13 years old.
Yes.
Is that something you think you could implement? Do you think that the state is ready for something like that? Or is this something you're going to have to put in like one district at a time? What do you think?
I think the state is ready for that. They already put a bill in for civic education. I think it's going to go along hand in hand with it. They'll be young, ready for it. They just needed someone to tutor them to the process, educate them through the process, and getting it started. That's why I come in at District 78 to get started with the state of Illinois.
I love it. What about your last piece you brought up was safer streets? And
Yes.
again, you're right. This all does flow, right? The more ownership you have, the more entrepreneurship you have, the more businesses, you're going to have safer streets. Does your safer streets, is that the end, or is there more on top of that? Is there a difference in policing? Is there a difference in funding? Is there a difference in how we act in the community?
Yes, the police will have to change. I believe that we should deal with, while the police officers are in the academy, I think they need to spend more time with psychology and sociology, knowing how to deal with the community of the people. As of right now, they spend more time on the gun range than they do with dealing with basically classroom structure education. I believe they should be brought out of the academy and put into those communities for weeks at a time while they going through their training courses to get the mentality prepared for what's going to go on in the real world.
That is a very interesting idea.
Once they leave the academy, it's just, it's them, the supervisor, and the community. A community that they never worked with before, ever. A lot of people don't come from our same backgrounds. That's the change. That's the difference. I believe also that we should change the way we actually do policing. I'm a part of a program called the NPI, which is the Neighborhood Policing Initiative, where I'm the middleman, more of the ambassador, to where we basically structure, the liaison for the police department and the community to bring back the to bring back more of the culture where it used to be, where they were interacting with the police department. Trust. That's one of the key words, is trust. The community right now, the community don't trust the police don't trust the community.
Got it.
Once we bring back the trust, everybody will be on the same scale of working together. Crime will be in a very high reduction, less policing, less spinach on policing because of that. Yes.
I love I've actually never heard of it, but the idea that most people are saying the opposite of what you're saying. They're saying, put them in school longer, right? Leave them in school longer. You're saying, while they're in school, basically give them some OJT. Show them where you're going to be so that you can take what you're learning in school and put it actually into play.
Apply it, yes.
Before you get out there as an actual cop, and you're able to actually function better in the community.
Relationship building is huge. It's very huge. The Black community is a very close niche community. If you ever actually look at it, you have a lot of cousins and uncles. They all live, real close seconds of each other. And it's about communicating. Communicating is huge. If you don't have communication and trust, you would not have a safe community at all. That's why we work towards it, for safer streets.
Right. I was just talking to someone about the same idea of having, in many communities, if community leaders are actually supporting the police and believe in the police, there'll be so few times when, you're knocking in someone's door and shooting the wrong person.
Yes.
Because the community leader makes it happen. If you look at people who are wealthy, right? And a lot of people don't notice this. If you're wealthy, one of the reasons why you know the cops is because you donate to the mayor, you donate to the sheriff, right? You're voting for them, so you know them all. So when your name comes up in the warrant list, the sheriff goes, "Is this John Smith?" "Yeah." "All right, call him up." And they call him up and say, "Hey, can you surrender tomorrow around 9? We'll get you out, after bail by around 1. And that really happens, right? That's a thing that actually happens. Right. If you have community leaders, then the community leader can go, "Look, Johnny, you need to go in because they're going to chase you down. They're going to knock on some doors. Some people are going to get hurt.
Yes.
Why don't you just go in? We'll see if we can get some bail for you, and we'll work on this." And Johnny might believe a community leader. He's not going to believe a cop.
No.
I think you're totally right.
Oh,
and all that collateral damage starts to go away.
It will. Sincerely will. Right now, I had a meeting, block club meeting Monday with one of my blocks here with the president. And one of the officers couldn't make it, so I had to explain the program to him. And the officer was upset because her backup couldn't come for the meeting because a lot of those officers are really in tune with each block by block. It's not just the one little sector that's it. No, block by block is the way we work. That's one of the organizations, Northwest Austin Council, I grew up in, is where we did block club organizing. We knew the presidents, we knew the people on these blocks here in Austin community. The community is huge. You're talking about over 70,000 people in Austin. And basically, constantly building relationships with block by block. This person knows somebody on this block. So we're entertaining the needs, what they're trying to get solved there. It's constant work, but I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, and again, you're lowering the chances of someone getting hurt. You're lowering the chances of collateral damage, and you're actually getting the cops to start trust the people more. While the people start trust the cops more, everything's getting better. Maybe benefit of the doubt. I like that. I like that. So let me now go to what's hit us hard this year: the COVID crisis. Right, the COVID crisis and the response. Do you have any view on that?
I think the problem there was being educated early on. That's the problem, the lack of education across the different boards, but especially with that, when the government found out, it should have been educating the community on how to be safe. I don't believe in enforcing anything on anybody, but letting them know. That was the problem. Information wasn't let out in time. It was let out too slowly, and a better job could have been done about it, pretty much is what I'm saying on that. For future, we got to do a better job as that. And even in community, when the organizations get the information, they got to get it out to the people. Yes. People need to know. Yes.
And then the other part is people start not believing it because of the source.
Yeah.
Right. So if the source is this, well, it's not true. The source is that, well, it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true. It's just, oh, he said it, I don't believe it. Oh, he said it, I believe it. And it's almost, this goes back to your point of trust, right? If the government is instead just being a repository for information, now all of a sudden people might actually trust it because I'm not being told what to do. I'm being shown. And I can decide, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I like that idea. I love that. All right. So that's one thing that hit us. But right behind that, George Floyd. I mean, affecting the entire country, affecting how we think, affecting what we're doing. What do you think about that?
Let's start back educating the officers. Their training has to change, and people have to. Another thing is that we don't trust each other. We don't respect each other.
Yes.
And people, King always said, he said, we are a race of people first, color second. And we don't look at each other like that across all color lines. We don't look at each other like that. Even within our same communities, we don't respect each other. We're always looking for somebody to respect us. We have to start with respect with that. Respect and trust. Once we get started on that tilter going uphill, you see a lot of the differences changing across the police department, across communities because of that.
Good. So let me ask you, do you have a cool slogan? Do you have a Medicaid for all or build that wall or one of those things?
No, I don't. At NAC, we have one called Strengthening Communities. That's what the slogan was. Strengthening Communities. Yeah. I
like that. No, community's a big deal. And sadly, even you would think that with all the stuff that's happening now, that we would want to fall back to our communities to help us out. But we don't. We're still looking for the federal government to give us answers.
Yes. We have to start depending on each one another. Like later today, after the show, we're going to pass out some masks and some hand sanitizer. We have to depend on each other. Right now, how many people can actually say they can depend on their neighbor to help them out, to take them to the grocery store if they needed to? Whereas right now, because of the riots, there's no drugstore around. Can you honestly say you can go to your neighbor and say, hey, I need to run to the drugstore that's outside of Austin? Sometimes, pretty much, most likely, no. You have to call an Uber, you got to call a Lyft, you got to call a jitney cab. That has to change. That's why we have to have that communication with your neighbor. Your neighbors. You never know when day you might need them or they might need you.
Absolutely, yes. I got to tell you, there's one silver lining to this COVID crisis. I mean, there's a lot of bad, obviously, but there was a silver lining, and that was a lot of people thought that community would never show up, that businesses would never show up, that individuals would never show up. And many of them did. It was late, as you said, because we got the information late because we were waiting for the government to do something. They didn't do anything. The information didn't come out. So a lot of us showed up late, but we showed up. We did show up.
Yes.
So I think community does exist, But I look at it like a muscle, right? We don't exercise the community muscle, so it's weak.
Yes.
Because we've been letting the government do all the heavy lifting for us. So the community's not ready to lift, right? So we got to start exercising that community muscle so that when the government goes away, we can do the lifting ourselves. And I think we struggle in that.
We do. We honestly do. That's why that's why we do this community building. We try to, the goal is to have every block in Chicago to have their own block club president, their own structure, so they can have somebody to turn to in case of need. They can have somebody in place for different things, even with neighborhood watch and lookouts. My father was involved with that when I was a small kid. I used to go with him along the rides where we do CB watch, basically. We have a CB and they have somebody to call back. They will call the police department. That's before everybody had cell phones.
Right.
And we see something happening, we call it in right away, you know. And that was a part of the community. That was a part of, you know, community working together. You know?
I love that. So let me ask, we have COVID happening. There may be a second wave. Who knows how that's going to happen and how it's going to play out. How in the world can we make impact this year when we're handicapped in many ways?
Information, as I can say, the information is key. We got to get the information out, and with the community, along with the community, working together to help each and everyone else that's in the community, especially our elders, the ones that are likely to be, you know, impacted the most, the elderly and the sick. We have to look out to our own, because right now it's kind of hard. People, you know, people are so scarce and they step backish. But you know, you gotta show the smile, gotta give them the grin, and open them up, open people up more to be, you know, to relate to us, to get things done. Doing this second wave or second impact. Yes.
This is why I like, you know, the whole idea of running local, because local, you got a better shot, I think, of making impact, because you can go block to block, you can go house to house, you can leave stuff on someone's door, you can do more of that, I think, in a local world. And you can also get local press, local newspaper, local TV, local radio. Yes. I'm very, as you see me, I'm trying to support the local candidates. I really think we can make real impact this year. I think we got a shot.
Yes, like my mentor always say, all politics is local.
Yes, absolutely.
And it starts down from the municipalities to the state reps, state senators, and it builds up. That's how it builds the structure of different parties, because of those smaller races.
Right.
It impacts the big races like the governorships and U.S. Senate races, and hopefully president along the lines of that.
Sure. So how do we handle all the fear, though, right? Don't we have a lot of people who are just afraid, right? Afraid that Trump's going to kill us, afraid that Biden's going to kill us, afraid that the Chinese are going to kill us, afraid that COVID's going to kill us, just afraid. And people who are afraid, they often just, you know, they stay. They become frozen and don't act, or they fall back to their old ways. How do we get around that fear that's out there?
Well, I had one of my seniors on my district tell me, he said, Josh, he said, the reason for the fear is because we're not communicating information. One of my seniors told me that. We say we're not communicating information. It's always late. We're always getting it secondhand.
Yes.
And we should be getting it first. And the problem is that was actually a couple of them actually brought that up to me, saying it's just the information. We can prepare better. Especially for this next trend, we can prepare a lot better and a lot faster. I know a lot of people are getting prepared now. I've heard people talk about bunkers. But it may be a little bit too much, but hey, that's what they choose to do. So
sure, that's good. Bunker. That's preparing. It is absolutely 100%. So let me go to the next piece. Right, when I ran for governor, I was very lucky. If I lose my race, I could still get ballot access. Very easy consolation prize. In your race, you know, what's a win? Right? Is it just victory? Is there something else as a consolation prize? How do you define a win in your race?
Well, one of the ways to win is me being in office come January. That's the first one.
Love that.
If that doesn't happen, the key thing is open your eyes up at the incumbents that, you know, your position is not safe. It's time for you to start working. It's time for you to get back to community. It's time for you to get off your ass and start working with the people that's here. We have people here that want to work with you. But stop turning them down. Work with them. These are your constituents, regardless if they vote for you or not. These are the people that you work for, and stop being along the lines of working for the corporations and unions. They don't get you in office. Like back to my mentor, you know, money don't get you. Money don't buy you votes. The people get you voted in, And those people is what you got to reach out to. They have to start doing that now. But that'd be my second win. Yes.
I love it. So in your race, is it a 2-way race, 3-way race, 4-way?
It's a 2-way race.
Nice. You against whom? Is it Democrat, Republican?
Democrat.
Got it. Is your district gerrymandered to where Democrat has a huge advantage?
Yes, yes, it does. So pretty much. It's gerrymandering because she's from the suburban area, so it's majority suburbs of Cook County. It's very weird here. I remember I was going to pick up my walking sheets here at the Board of Elections. You got to go 2 different floors because Cook County only houses the suburban side, and Chicago is a whole different entity of itself. That's that board of government that we talked about earlier. So,
got it. Wow. So, what do you? I mean, the last person who ran against her, how did they do?
They lost by. They only took 19% of the vote. She only been challenged one time. She's been in office for 10 years.
Wow.
2 years. So.
Wow, good for you. I really hope you're able to make this happen. That'd be great. So look, guys, if you're out there and you want to support this man in a 2-way race, I love this. You can make big impact. Head on over to josh4staterep.com. It's going across the bottom. If you're in Illinois and you want someone new and someone who's thinking about community, who doesn't want to use force in your state house, you know what? Send them some money. $5, $10, $20, all's good. If you got a bunch of money, send them a bunch. Send them $500, send them $1,000. If you got it, send it. All good. If you have somebody, send it. If you're in his district, you're in Chicago, you got to support him, right? But you might say to yourself, Larry, I don't have that much cash. No worries. If you don't have that much cash, no worries. He still needs volunteers. He needs people to make content for him. He needs social media people. He needs people to walk the blocks with him. He needs people to do sign waves. He needs all those things. So heading over to josh4staterep.com. Support him to the best of your ability. He needs the money. He needs the time. He needs the energy to make impact. Guys, it's a 2-way race. Think of what we can do in a 2-way race. It's a lot of impact. If you're in Illinois and you want to build this up, not just for this year, but also for the years in the future. If you want to build up our infrastructure, make that impact, now's the time. Support this man, Joshua Flynn, running in Illinois. Joshua, anything else you want to talk about today?
Yes, I was hoping this is your platform. I was wondering if you would endorse me today on your platform.
I haven't done that in the past. I will consider it, though. I will absolutely consider it. Absolutely. But I'm telling people, support this man and give him some money and give him some time. I'm saying that. Is that good at least?
That's good. Yes, it is.
All right, that's good. I love it. Excellent. All right, guys. Say thank you, everybody, for watching. Joshua, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know you got stuff you got to do. Please get to go over and take care of that. Thank you, everybody. We'll be talking. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.